Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share another little tips and tricks video. It's mainly aimed at beginners. So one of the most common things I get asked is, are there any beginner mistakes that all beginners make? And this is one of them. There's not normally a lot, but this is one thing that not all beginners make, but it seems to be the most common thing that I have seen in all my years of teaching sewing. So I just thought I'd do a little video just in case it helps you. I have done similar things before in the past on this subject, but I just thought I'd do another refresher just for anyone new coming along, because it is a really important skill in your sewing, especially when you're starting out. Okay, so what I want to show you is the easiest way to learn how to get straight, smooth lines. So I've got my fabric here, and normally what people do is they put their fabric underneath and just watch the needle and go, which is fine, except you're never going to get smooth straight lines like that because you're not you're watching the needle and not anything else. Now if you look under your machine, you've got all these guides and all these markers, and they are there for a reason. They signify measurements for your seam allowance. So if you ever want to start dressmaking or following a pattern, and it will always say at the start or somewhere in there that the seam allowances are, and then it will give you a measurement. It's normally between 10 and 15 millimeters for most things, but you know, some things might be a bit more. So if you look at your guides, some will have the numbers on them like mine. I have imperial at the top, and I have my metric system here. So for a 15 millimeter seam allowance, I've got 20 here. That's a 5 mil increment, so this one will be 15. So I would line my fabric up against that 15 millimeter marker, and then I would sew. And what I'm doing is I'm not watching my needle, I'm watching my marker here. And I'm always keeping an eye on there. Obviously, you have to look at your needle and where that's going, just in case you're going to hit something or, you know, I don't know. But always watch your needle, especially around your fingers. But when I'm sewing my smooth lines, I'm always looking to see if my fabric edge is lined up against my marker. Now, if you have markers but no measurements written on them, so some machines have just lines, here's what I would do. Okay, so let's pretend I've got no numbers here. So what I want you to do is get a tape measure, and making sure that your needle is in the center position, so you haven't got any other settings turned on, you've just got your needle in the center point. If you have a computerized machine, you can turn it off and on again and it should go back to the center point. If you've got a mechanical machine, I want you to check your width gauge and make sure that it's in the center point. A lot of mechanical machines have a oval with a dot in the middle on the width adjuster, and you'll need to change that to make sure it's in the middle. So if my needle's in the middle, I'm going to lower my needle down, and I'm going to put my tape measure at 0 against my needle. I'm then going to look at where my lines match up to my guidelines, and then I can work out that my 10 millimeter is against the side of my foot. This is on my machine, by the way, this might be different for yours. 15 millimeter is the first line, 20 millimeter is the second line, and then you can mark as you want to, just to check which line you're actually following. Once I've started a pattern, I would then suggest that you get some masking tape. You just rip a tiny bit off, or washi tape if you've got it. Washi tape is even better because it's not as sticky. And then say my pattern suggests that I need a 50 millimeter seam allowance. I would just mark that tape on that 15 millimeter line, so that when my fabric is underneath, all I have to worry about is lining up against the masking tape and nothing else. So it's really, really obvious. Just in case, if you haven't got your measurements there, it's very easy to go, was it that line? Was it that line? And then the faff of having to re-measure it again. If you put a piece of masking tape down, it will always mark that project. Just remember to take it off when you do your next one, just in case it's different. This is also a great tip if you're sewing with children or you're teaching grandchildren or your own children to sew. It just makes a more obvious guide to where they need to line up their fabric against. And if you've got some washi tape and it's a different colour to the fabric, it makes it even more obvious. So yeah, my little tips of smooth straight lines. So there you have it, just a few little tips that I hope will make a difference to the smoothness and straightness of your stitching. And hopefully if you are a total beginner, this will save you a lot of unpicking in the future. So yeah, let me know what you think of this video. If you found it useful at all, give it a thumbs up. Comment below with any questions you might have. And I will see you next week for another video. Happy handmade, everyone.